Theodore Roosevelt believed in the America that really works and worked. He refused to accept failure, mediocrity, corruption, decay, or decline, and neither should we.
That was President Trump on Wednesday during his visit to the Theodore Roosevelt Presidential Library, located in the Badlands of North Dakota. Set to officially open to the public tomorrow, the 93,000 square foot bunker stands as a testament to the legacy of one of America's most famous commanders-in-chief. It features interactive exhibits as well as an artificial intelligence avatar of the late president with which visitors can interact. It says bully a lot. Joining us now from Medora, North Dakota is Pulitzer Prize-winning presidential historian Doris Kearns-Goodwin. Also with us, the co-founder and CEO of All In Together, Lauren Leader. Pablo Torre and Ali Vitale back with us as well. Thank you all for being here. Doris, of course, we will start with you. A remarkable new facility there for a tribute to a remarkable president. Tell us more about what we can find in North Dakota.
Well, it's absolutely astonishing. This was the place, as he later said, without which he would never have been president. He had been so depressed when he came out here. His wife and his mother had died on the same house on the same day. And he came out really to just escape. But somehow he found a healing out here, which was much more important than an escape. In the beauty of this landscape, it seeped into his soul almost, and he became the great conservationist. But even more important, from then on, he was a romantic cowboy. He was a wrangler. He had been with farmers and cowboys, and he was no longer just an Eastern dude, a dandy. So he was able to combine those parts of the country when he became back to be president. He'd also trained his troops later in the Rough Riders. My boyfriend, I got back with him again these last couple of days.
So Doris, you and your ex there. Tell us about what lessons from TR, what parts of the TR resume or legacy or character do you think would be most useful for our country today as we head into the 250th anniversary?
In so many ways, I think the time in which he was president is much like our own, because you had the Industrial Revolution had shaken up the economy, much like globalization and the tech revolution and AI today. You had people who were rich and people who were poor, a massive gulf. Big companies were swallowing up small companies. New inventions were making people a little scared about the change of the pace of life. And capitalism had no regulations from the time of the Civil War until Teddy Roosevelt. So there was a feeling that there was no control over the economy. And he comes in, with this perfect slogan, which is more than that. It's his whole legislative program, a square deal for the rich and the poor, the capitalist and the laborer. And he had rational regulations that did not break up these big companies unless they were not doing well, that allowed them to move forward, but with more concern for making sure that they were treating their workers right and they were lowering prices as a result of efficiency that came from bigness. And he just had a spirit, I think, that people glommed onto. He had more energy than anybody I've ever known. There was a vitality to him. He was fun. He acknowledged errors. And when he wrote a memoir about the Rough Riders, his experience in the Spanish-American War. And the humor said he made himself the center of every moment of every action, that he should have called it Alone in Cuba. So everybody's laughing at him. But instead, he writes back, I regret to tell you that my wife and my intimate friends are delighted with your book. Now I owe you one. I hope we can become friends. He was able to laugh at himself. He had humility. He had all the qualities of character that you really want in a leader.
So Doris, stay with us, please. We'll come back to you in a moment. We should note, as we head into the 250th, one Democratic leader is planning direct counter-programming to President Trump for the July 4th holiday. Governor Wes Moore of Maryland is set to deliver a speech from the State House in Annapolis tomorrow. It's titled The Work of Patriotism. In it, the governor is expected to make the case that Democrats cannot cede patriotism to the president. And Governor Moore joins us now. He is, of course, also a combat veteran who served in Afghanistan. Governor, great to see you, as always.
Thank you.
Happy 4th of July to you. So give us a preview, if you will, because this is interesting. The idea of patriotism has become, sadly, polarizing. Even symbols of this country, like the flag. I know some Democrats who are they feel ambivalent about it, at least for now, because they feel like President Trump has seized it all for himself. Give us a sense as to what you plan to say tomorrow.
I want to highlight the fact that the United States is still the greatest experiment in world history, that there was nothing like it before. And in many ways, there's been nothing like it since. Now, we understand that our history is complex. We understand that our history is complicated, that it has been ugly at times. But I also know there has been this arc that patriotism and the work of patriotism has really inspired, that tomorrow I will be giving an address as the first African-American governor in the history of the state of Maryland. And I'll be giving it from our state house, which was partially built by the hands of enslaved people. There is something to the unlikely nature of this country. And I think that what we are seeing in Washington, D.C., while we're watching almost a tribute to self, a tribute to an ideology, is not just backwards, but is deeply un-American. And so, when we see darkness, we want to introduce light. When we see hatred, we want to introduce love and context. And I think that's what the speech tomorrow is going to help to highlight.
Governor, as I hear you talk about what your speech is going to highlight, I think about the way that we started the show today with David Ignatius writing a column about how the U.S. is glowing and decaying all at once. And I think even as I hear you talk about the historic abilities that you yourself embody, are we still a country at this moment that is striving for our better angels? And as we look at this 250th anniversary, what do you hope for the next 250th or even for the next year?
There's a great song by Donny Hathaway called A Song for You. And he says in it, I know your image of me is what I hope to be. And I think in many ways that's a story of America, where the image of America is what we hope to be and we strive to be. But it's something that even when the country was first founded, it wasn't founded on the idea that we created a perfect union. It was on the idea that we're creating a more perfect union, and that every generation, their job is to help to bring that about. And I think that's the difference in many ways between America 250 and Freedom 250, where America 250 is a celebration of patriotism. Freedom 250 is a celebration of nationalism. And that's the difference that I think the president is inspiring here. And so I think the hope that we have is if we really take on the work of patriotism, the work that so many before us did, that we actually have a better chance of being the country that we hope to be.
Governor, there has never been, I think, a feeling that I can recall of the mainstream, the rest of the country feeling like there are things going on at the very top, both embodied by institutions as well as this administration, things going on that they cannot access or profit from. And yet they're being asked to, of course, celebrate a country that seems politically like it is heading in a direction that only exacerbates that gap between what is being done behind the scenes and what is being told to them. How do you speak to a nation that is looking for something like critique, perhaps, while also feeling like the notion of pride is obviously a political opportunity for the Democrats that hasn't quite been seized?
I mean, it's absolutely right, and I think that feeling is justified because, we're here talking about how the United States was a gift. But for many people in this country, what they're seeing is a grift, right? They're seeing a president who has now profited by billions of dollars. We are seeing policies that are cutting people off of health care, policies that are ripping children away from food assistance, all while we can give billionaires tax cuts. And so the frustration that people feel, it is a very real frustration. I understand it. And the cynicism is real. The thing that I ask in this moment is, and remind people is, again, I don't come from a political background or political family. This is the first office I ever held in my life. And so my measure of cynicism has not left me. I still carry it with me every single day. It's part of the reason that I ran for governor in the first place. But I want for that cynicism to be my companion, but I don't want it to be my captor. I don't want it to be something that I can look at the future and say, I'm now opting out, and I'm forgetting about the sacrifices that people made before me. What I want to use it as my motivation and my ammunition to be able to think about the type of future that we want to be able to hold together. What we are seeing right now from Washington, D.C. and from this Trump administration, it is grotesque. But the answer to it is not simply to forfeit and to let it happen. The answer to it is to do what those who came before us did and say, we will fight for a better future because that was the hopes of this nation in the first place.
Democratic Governor Wes Moore of Maryland, thank you so much. We'll be watching for your speech. Happy 4th of July to you.
Happy 4th. Thank you.
Lauren, take a question to Doris, if you will. But before you do, give us your thoughts here as we head into 250. about, we hear so much about the founding fathers, but talk to us about the role as you're thinking about the women who played such a vital role at the birthplace of this country.
You know, less than 15% of the American history that kids learn in school includes the history of women's contributions to this country, and that remains just a massive gap. We are and have always been essential to the founding, development, growth, success, and impact of this nation around the world. And I'm very heartened by some of the new books. Nora O'Donnell's new book that calls out, we the women, this sort of interest now in capturing the stories that have been overlooked, whether it's Katherine Johnson and Hidden Figures or other women who, were so fundamental. And I do encourage Americans this week, as we're thinking about the 4th, not just to dig into the well-known history of women like Abigail Adams, who, really tried to fight for women's leadership from the beginning, but so many other women that contributed to the country. All In Together's Substack this week lays it out, a lot of the history of the country that was shaped by women and continues to be. And, it's my hope that not just the contributions of women, but really, diverse Americans of all backgrounds, that is so fundamental to the fabric of who we are, even in this moment where we're overlooking diversity and trying not to talk about it, and it's become a dirty word. Like, that is who we are in every way.
So, Doris, back to you now. Your thoughts about this moment as we head to 250, but also, and that includes a new documentary about George Washington that I know you're a part of that's about to premiere.
Yeah, one of the things that's so interesting is that Theodore Roosevelt's hero was Abraham Lincoln. He read the 10 volumes of Nicolay and Hay when he was in the middle of a great coal strike, and then answer for him. Now I actually was able to talk to him yesterday. It was a real conversation. It was incredible. I started asking him what he felt about the idea that he was leaving after the 1904 election. He said he wouldn't run again because he had served 7.5 terms. He probably hated that. And he told me he hated that. And then I talked to him about would he have run in 1916. And then just in the year before he died, he was thinking of running in 1920. And then death just took him sleeping. As his son said, if it hadn't taken him sleeping, he would have had a fight because he was a fighter all his life. So you feel his presence. Every exhibit here is interactive. I mean, I think these presidential libraries are so important for people to come to. We want kids to come, not only here, to all of them. We just need kids to feel again. Lincoln said it was so important for civics and the understanding of history to get in young children so they can feel the ideals when the times of history have gone. And I think that's why I love history so much. And these presidents I've studied, they all lived through difficult times, and they all came through those times, and somehow we as a country came through, and that's got to give us hope and perspective and lessons from the future. So it's a great time to be celebrating history on the 250th anniversary.
I love these presidential libraries. I'll be certain to visit that one. And the new documentary, George Washington, Father of His Country, premieres tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern on the History Channel. Presidential historian Doris Kearns Goodwin, live in North Dakota. Thank you so much. Pablo, we just only have a few seconds left, but just give us a quick thought as to what you have holding close here as we head to the 250.
Yeah, I am listening to a conversation about Teddy Roosevelt, and I'm wondering about the people who wear the costume of conservationism. The president, Doug Burgum, as they perform what it means to care about the natural resources of this country while they plunder it. It's hard not to wonder what AI Teddy Roosevelt would say about that as well, if we had the opportunity to ask.
Pablo, thank you. Lauren, thank you so much. Thanks to all.